Welcome back to Homa Studio, and welcome back to our third video in the Figma as an Illustrator Alternative series. And we're going to start building our pear, and we have an untitled file that we renamed to pear-hs. And what we're going to do is create a frame. So we're going to go up here to this little grid thing, and we're going to create a frame. And there's nothing there, but you have to choose what kind of frame it is. So I'm just going to make it letter for now. And everything's in pixels. Just want to point that out. Everything's going to be in pixels, and we can easily convert things if we need to. But we're going to put everything on our frame. You can lock your frame, but you don't have to, because it won't select it unless you actually select it over here. It won't select it here anymore. And another thing you can do before we get started, I'm going to click on this kind of background area and just lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to click on this page color and just move this up and just lighten it. So I have a little bit more of a gray desktop like I would use in Illustrator. And I could just hit the X button here. So there's my 8.5 by 11 page, letter size page that I'm working on in Figma, even though it's showing as pixels, and that's okay. So we're going to start drawing a pear. So we're going to start with 2 ellipses. So I'm going to go up here to the tools up here, and I'll go under the one that has the rectangle, and I'll draw an ellipse. And I'll just draw a circle ellipse. Now you can see it's drawing it in all directions. And I'll just draw a circle like that. It's gray to start. I'll move it around. If I hover over it, you'll see I have that little arc there. And if I grab that, I don't really use this. You could make a Pac-Man character or pie slices and things like that. I don't really use that too much, but that's the way ellipses start out until you flatten them. So I'm going to leave it the way it is right now. I'm just going to make an ellipse, and then to make a second one, I can hold down my Alt key or Option key. I'm on a Mac. I'll use Option and make a second one. Now I can scale it by dragging here. You can hold Shift and keep it in proportion. If you don't hold Shift, it'll go in all different directions and do that. And if you use a scale tool, they have a scale tool up here, which is more helpful when you're working with text. You can use the scale tool. That will keep it in proportion automatically when you grab on the corner, just to point out. So I'll go back to this move tool, or arrow tool as I'll call it, and I'm going to make a little snowman here out of 2 ellipses. And then what I'm going to do, just like I would do in Illustrator under Pathfinders, I'm going to select both of these ellipses and I'm going to join them. Now I could align them. I didn't mention that yet. I could align them to make them align on center, and I could go right over here. You don't have to use that Illustrator align thing, which sometimes is confusing. You could just align horizontal centers, and they're aligned now. And this will align a single element on a page. By the way, I just want to point this out. If I do this, it'll align it on the page, but if you select multiple ones, it'll align them together. So there's my snowman type shape right now. Highlight them together. I'm going to go up here, and this is where they have the Boolean groups where you could unite them, you could subtract from them. I'm going to unite the selection by using union. And I just want to point out that when I click on here, the union is still not expanded yet. In Illustrator, you have to expand it. Now these are still separate ellipses that you can edit if you want to. I could click on this one. There's ellipse 2. I can click on that one. That's ellipse 1. And they're part of this union kind of group here. And what I'm going to do is click on the union up here in my layers palette and go back to the Boolean groups and flatten it. And that will make it one union. So then I can't edit it, but I will edit the anchor points. So I'm going to flatten that, and there's my union. Now I could call this pear if I want to, but we may have individual parts that we're going to do, but I'll just call it pear to start. So that's fine. And notice when I click on here, it doesn't select the frame. So you don't have to worry about accidentally selecting the frame. Unless you go up here, you could select the frame if you need to. There's all the frame information. But I'll go back to my pear here. Now this is a vector shape. Now you can activate the anchor points by double clicking, or I'll hit done. Or you could use this icon here, which is edit object. That'll also take you into like vector editing mode where you have the anchor points, where you could select an anchor point, select an anchor point, select an anchor point. Now, I just want to look at these anchor points. This one at the top, it says no mirroring. Now, that's like a corner point. That means when you grab on a handle and go up and down, they're not connected. Now, if you want them connected, you could select this anchor point and choose mirror angle or mirror angle and length. That keeps the handles the same length when you drag them out. That way, if I go on here and drag a handle out, they stay the same length. Illustrator didn't always do that automatically. I don't even know if it does it yet on newer versions. But I like that it has mirror angle and length, and it also has mirror angle. and you can convert it there. There's also a bend tool that can do some conversions, but I'll get to that later. What I'm going to do now is delete 2 anchor points. So I'm going to select this one. Notice I'm just using this select tool, this move tool. And if I hit delete, it's not going to work, just like Illustrator. If I hit delete, wipes out the whole thing. So I'll undo that, Command Z. And what I have to do is Shift delete. Hold down Shift and hit my delete key. That deletes it. I'll go here, Shift delete. That deletes it. Now if you want to tweak anything, click on an anchor point and drag these. Now they're disconnected right now. So if you want to mirror them, just go back here and make sure it says mirror angle. Then when you go back to drag it, you'll see the handles will work like a curve point in Illustrator. Same thing here. It says no mirroring. I'll put mirror angle, and that way when I drag this, they'll work together like a seesaw. That'll be a curve point. So that's a fairly decent pear shape. If I go down here, I'll zoom in a little. I'm just doing Command plus. Let's see what this looks like. That's no mirroring because they work independently. It's a corner point. And I could leave it like that because maybe I want that little bottom there. And if you needed to add anchor points for whatever reason, I don't right now, but if I did, I could go to my pen tool and just hover over here, and I just want to point this out. If you hover over right on the line and you click, it'll add it, but then it'll want to connect it to another one. Now to get rid of that, just hit your escape key. That'll make that go away. And then I'll go here and I'll click, and that'll add an anchor point, and then hit escape again. And if you want to delete these, go back to your arrow, click on it, hold Shift, delete, click on this anchor point, hold Shift, and then your delete key, and they're gone. So this is our basic shape that we have set up so far. And what we're going to do is add a leaf and add a stem, and we're going to add a color to this. So I'm going to hit done here because I'm done with my basic vector shape here, and we're going to add some other things. So coming up in the next video, we'll add a gradient to our pear shape.